Welcome in, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us while we wait. Please want to tell us where you are joining us from today. We appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Galvao, along with my colleague, Stephanie Johnson, and we are your co-hosts for today. And we should be starting in a few minutes. So while we wait, if you don't mind just telling us where you're joining us from, and putting in the chat. Greatly appreciated. And also, if you don't mind during this presentation, if you don't mind using, not presentation, sorry, skill up, if you don't mind using the Q&A box for all your questions, we will be holding space later to answer all of your questions. You can stay on camera, you can go off camera if you want to, the choice is yours. We just ask for you to kindly mute yourself so that we are not having any interruptions while our presenters are presenting. Okay. And also, at this time, I would like to introduce our presenters of Building Skills That Last from Research to Reference, my colleagues Amanda Bezet and Shelley Baker. Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
And Shelley, before you get started really quickly, I just want to point out in the chat, Tammy Ivan said, if you don't see the Q&A, she had to click the more in the Zoom bar to see it. So for those of you who had some issues, maybe you didn't see Q&A, just click more and you should be able to see it there.
Thank you, Stephanie. And we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Shelley Baker, and I'm here with my wonderful colleague from the library.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Bezet. I'm the Graduate Student Success Librarian here at National University, and I am also a doctoral student.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, Amanda. I'm also a doctoral student as well. So we're really happy to have everyone here today. During our presentation or our skill up today, I will be providing you with a tour of the APA manual, and I'll also be showing you how to download your references from Academic Writer. And then I'll hand it over to Amanda to show you how to upload your references to Zotero, and she'll also provide you with a Zotero tour. In addition to Q&A, that we'll have an opportunity at the end for you to ask questions and answer them as well. Do you hear my dog barking by chance? Great. All right. Then I'll go ahead and keep going. So with Academic Writer, we still have access to it. You have access to it until September 30th. So this is part of the reason we're showing you how to take those references that you've saved and move them over. And we're also showing you all the wonderful things that are available through the APA manual. I think you'll find it very easy to peruse and to use. So with the APA manual, you'll have free access to it through the ASC as well as through the library. You'll also be able to search the manual. You're able to do quick lessons through there. You're able to also bookmark and highlight and take notes. So I use it regularly since we've had access to it, and I find it very simple and easy to use. So I'm hoping after today, you also find it simple and easy to use as well. What's also great about the APA manual and Zotero is that you retain access to it after you graduate. So with Academic Writer, you don't necessarily retain that access. So with this, you have access to the manual, which you may need, especially if you go on to publish any work. This is something that you may need afterwards. And again, you also have access to Zotero. If you are using Academic Writer and you have references there, after we are done with our skill up today, you'll know how to download those references and move them over to Zotero. Please do that by September 30th, because that's when our access to Academic Writer does expire. We'll also drop these links into the chat but you have the APA manual link where I'll show you also where to locate that in the ASC, the Zotero guide, and there's also a link for Zotero support. So with that, I am going to go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment here, and then I'm going to take us over to the ASC. So here we are in the Academic Success Center. This is where you can find your access to Academic Writer and then your access to the APA manual. You can see right here at the top, we do have an alert that lets you know what's happening with your access to Academic Writer, and it gives you some information about APA style. And then also, if you scroll down, you click on the APA style resources, you will have immediate access to the APA manual as well as Academic Writers. So this is going to be your information page for this transition as we move forward. And now I'm going to go ahead and just click on this link and provide you with a tour of the APA manual. So from the APA manual, the first thing you'll see is the dashboard. So if you have never accessed the manual before, or you've never used the hard copy, this does provide you with some recommended chapters, searches, and recommended lessons. So this is the first thing you'll see, especially if you're not logged in. You'll be able to access some of these sections of the manual right away. What I would suggest that you do if you do not have an Academic Writer account, you'll want to go ahead and sign up for the APA style manual. And I'll show you how to do that. We're going to go ahead here and click on Login and create an account. So you'll have to scroll down just a little to see the option to create an account. Once you do that, you'll fill in this information. Please use your school email address so that you can retain access. And then also create a password that's unique to this site, agree to the terms, and then create your account. You'll likely get a verification email, so please make sure that you have access to your student email so that you can verify your email address, and then you can come back to Academic Writer and to the APA style manual and log in. Again, if you have access to Academic Writer, you have an account with them, you will utilize that same information to log in to the APA style manual. Notice now that I've logged in, it says, "Welcome to the APA style manual, Shelley," and it tells me I can pick up where I left off. So it shows me the last sections of the manual that I was going through. It also shows me what I searched for and the last lesson I reviewed. It also provides me with the recently added highlights, notes, and bookmarks. So you can grab those sections and continue where you left off right from the dashboard. We're going to go now into the publication manual. So this looks just like the book. So if you have a hard copy of the book, it works the same way. You just now have the electronic version. So from the manual, you can peruse page by page if you'd like to. You can go to the next chapter. You can go to the end of the book to view the index. You can go back pages, move to the previous chapter, or move back to the previous chapter, or go to the start of the book. Personally, I find it easier to move through the book through the table of contents. So here we have our front matter pages, our chapter 1 and the sections of chapter 1. So this allows you to go to the specific section of the manual that you're looking for information. So if you wanted to know more about paper elements, it takes you directly to that section. So unlike the hard copy where you have to turn those pages, this takes you directly to that section. Now, what's great about the online manual is it gives you the opportunity to highlight, to take notes, and to bookmark. You won't use these tools to do those actual things. In order to highlight, bookmark, and take notes, you'll have to highlight that section. So if I wanted to return to the title page guidelines, once I highlight and let go of my mouse, it provides me with these options. So if I want to highlight, I can just choose any of the colors here and then add the highlight. And for each chapter, so if I move to another chapter, it won't show the highlights for that chapter, but for this chapter, it shows me I have section 2.3 highlighted. If there's anything I'd like to really stand out for me the next time I browse this chapter, I can also bookmark that site. So if I want to come back to this particular section, it's bookmark, and I can come right to that section from my bookmark list. I can also make notes by doing the same thing, just by highlighting where I want to make notes and add those notes. So let's scroll down here. And then once I do that, I can also bookmark and save. So I'm just going to save. It also gives you an option to copy. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, just because there's some important information you need to know about copying any content. So right now, I'll go ahead and save. So from here, I have highlighted. I've also made notes. I've bookmarked content. So those are the 3 things that you can do to make it easier for you to utilize and personalize your experience with the APA manual. What's also great about this is whatever section you're in, if you click on this book icon here, it gives you related related lessons, not sessions. I apologize. So if you go to view lessons for basic paper setup, it gives you information that's related to the title page. It even gives you the title page lesson. So if you wanted to see the lesson on how to create a title page, it gives you that information. In addition to that, it also gives you related blog posts. If you've never been to the APA blog, you really should. You're missing out on some great information. They expand on the information that's provided in the manual and also clarify some things as well. So it's great that you have access to anything that's related. And once you're there, you can also continue browsing as well. So those are the things that you have immediate access to. And then another way that you can personalize this experience is by clicking on the wheel. It allows you to increase the font, change the letter spacing, the line height, the margins, the display mode. So you can make all of those changes. Just be sure whatever changes you make that you save those settings. If not, it won't save. So now we'll move on to the lessons. So the lessons that are here are all in alphabetical order. If you have used Academic Writer before, this looks familiar. If not, each lesson is a segment or a section of the publication manual. So these are all different guidelines. So if you wanted to know in APA style, how do you use abbreviations or how do you create abbreviations? This is a mini lesson on how to do so. You can either start learning and it'll take you section by section, or you can go through whichever section you need. If you just need to know how to handle plural abbreviations, you can go there. Or again, you can go through all of the sections. This is where you go to look at everything you've highlighted. So no matter what chapter, what section, you can find all your highlights there. This is where you can locate your notes as well as your bookmarks. Now, the account section. This is where I wanted to talk about the copy and paste and the print. You are allowed to copy, you are allowed to print. However, there's a limitation. You can copy up to 50,000 characters of the publication manual. You can print up to 8 pages. If you find you need to print more than 8 pages, I would suggest buying the manual. The manual's been out for almost 7 years now. So you can probably find a gently used copy at a bookstore. So it may be worth having. I like both the electronic version, and I also like to have a hard copy. It's sitting on my bookshelf. So it's good for me. I already have little bookmarks in there and everything. So it really is best. You will have to determine what's best for you. But just know if you need to print more than 8 pages, you probably want to purchase the manual. So with that, let me show you one more thing before we move on to Academic Writer, the search. So this is a great way if you're not sure where to even start and you're like, I just need information on citations. You can go ahead and drop that into the search. And what it does is it shows you some search results for the publication manual, lessons, APA style blog, And if you're logged in, it will show you anything you have highlighted, any notes you have, and any bookmarks. So it's a pretty comprehensive search. And as you can see, you can go here and look through. You can go to the manual section. If you say, okay, well, this is what I need. I need to know how to create parenthetical or narrative citations. You can go straight to that section. So this really allows you, again, to personalize. It's like going to that index in the back of the book. Now you're just putting in a search and you're getting in a larger amount of results than if you just went to the index. So this is what's wonderful here about the APA style manual. All right, so with that, I am going to show you, I'm going to close this window. We're going to go back to the Academic Success Center here, and we're going to access Academic Writer so that I can show you how to download your references. If you've used Academic Writer in the past and you want to save those references, you want to go ahead and download them. So I'll show you how to do that now. So from here, the Academic Writer link is going to be at the bottom of the page. So you'll use this link. And once this loads here, the next step is logging in. You won't be able to access your references until you log in. So once you log in, you'll go over to the reference section and then go to My References. Now, I have tons of references. I'm not going to show you I'm not going to download them all today. I'm going to show you how you would download them all today. But if you have pages upon pages of references, I suggest increasing the results per page. So I'm going to increase mine to 45. So now that we've done that, it minimizes the amount of pages I need to click through. The next step is clicking this button. I don't want you to go through and do this manually because that will take forever. So what you want to do instead is just click this button and it clicks all 45 references on this page. So I just need to go to page 2 now and click those references. So click the box at the top. Now that has increased to 90 and I can go to page 3 and do that. So for each page, you want to go in and click that button at the top, click that box at the top, and you're going to see that the amount selected has increased. Once you have all your references selected, you'll go here to More, Export References, and then you'll use this drop-down arrow here and select the RIS file customized for Zotero. Once you do that, you'll hit Submit. And for me, I'll get a pop-up and it's going to ask me where I'd like to save that file. So you want to remember exactly where you save it. I save everything to my downloads folder. From there, I can determine where I want that content to go. So for you, I'm sure you know exactly where you would want all your downloaded content to go. So I'm going to save that information in my download folder. And then now I'm going to hand it over to Amanda and she's going to show you what to do with that file in Zotero.
Sounds good. Let me replace our share so we can jump over to talking about Zotero because Shelley has given us a really great overview of how we can use that online APA manual to support us in creating those accurate and properly formatted citations and references. Now we're going to build on that foundation by looking at how Zotero can help you collect, organize, and manage your research resources, and also make that citation process easier as well. And I will show you how to upload that file that you exported from Academic Writer as well. But to start, we're going to go to the library's Zotero guide. So from the library's homepage here, the easiest way to get to that is to scroll down and click on Citation Managers. Once you have done that, you can see the link on the left-hand side of the screen for Zotero. So this is going to be our instructional guide on how to use Zotero with additional links outside of this to some support resources. But first of all, what is Zotero? So we understand that we want to get our references there, but what is this? This is a free open source citation management, or you might hear reference management tool. This is going to support you with collecting research sources, organizing your references, storing PDFs and notes, as well as generating those in-text citations and bibliographies. Now, there are some key benefits for you to use the Zotero tool. So it can act as a centralized research hub, holding many different types of sources, websites, presentations, articles, books, etc. Also, this is a downloadable software, as we see right here. So it's always going to be available to you despite internet or server outages. Also, you're going to have, like Shelley pointed out, you're going to have access to this beyond graduation. So it's going to be seamless. Once you graduate, you may want to continue using Zotero in your professional development and publishing career. Also, you can store an unlimited number of citations on Zotero. There is a 300 megabyte limit, which applies only to those attachments, those PDFs, if you are syncing them and storing them across devices using the Zotero cloud storage. So otherwise, you can have as many references and PDFs in your desktop version of Zotero. So we need to talk about how to set this up in order to get into Zotero and then be able to import those references from academic writers, as well as use other ways to get content into Zotero. So first and foremost, you're going to click on download and install Zotero. And there are 2 steps that you have to take here. The first is downloading the software, which you see here on the left-hand side, and you can expand this area to see the other versions available to you. The second thing you're going to want to do is install the Zotero connector for your internet browser. So it should detect what browser you're using. I'm obviously using Firefox, so that's where it is pointing me in that direction. But right here, you can see that it's also available for Chrome, Edge, and Safari. The instructions are a bit different for Safari, so just check that out here. Now, you also have an optional third step, which is to create an account within Zotero to sync across those devices if you like. And we have those instructions within our guide. One other quick note is that Zotero desktop application does not work with Chromebooks. So just something to point out there. So once you have, and by the way, if you have any trouble with this installation, please don't hesitate to reach out to the library for any support. Once you have it properly installed, now we can take a look around Zotero to see how it's going to help you with your storing your research resources. So let's just take a quick tour here, and then I'll jump right into uploading those sources from Academic Writer as well. So it looks a little bit busy. However, it is actually quite a simplistic setup. I'm very sensitive to too much busyness on the screen, and this is actually really, really well organized. So on the left-hand side of the screen, this is the main panel that we're working from. Okay, this includes your entire library of sources here. So if you are anywhere else, you can always click back to My Library to get to all of the research sources that you have included in your Zotero account. Additionally, you can organize those according to collections. So you can see that I have a few collections created here. And you're always able to right-click and create a new collection or even create a sub-collection within an existing collection. The other thing I want to point out here is that you need to know where all of the additional information is regarding your sources. So if you click on one of your sources, whether you're in a folder or just in your general My Library, you're going to see all that bibliographic information here on the right-hand side of the screen. As you scroll down, you will see all of that information. It may have an abstract. If you were able to include that full text whatever method you use to get that content into Zotero, that PDF document may appear there as well. If the PDF document is not included and you do want it to be included, you have a little plus sign here where you can go in and manually add that attachment. Additionally, you are able to edit any one of these fields. So if you see that something is off about this citation, you are going to want to take care of it here because that's going to carry over to your in-text citations and your references for the end of your paper. So one thing that routinely comes up is the sentence casing in the titles. Sometimes Zotero does not catch proper nouns. Essentially, it's however that content appeared in its original source is how it's going to appear here in Zotero. And this, remember, this is not an APA tool, right? So there's no guarantee that APA style is going to be 100% correct here. So we always need to check to make sure that things like the capitalization is correct in our titles. My colleague Tammy, who's here today, also has a very, very, very brief video on this issue, the APA capitalization, that you can view from our Zotero guide, which is super helpful. Additionally, you can scroll down, and if you wanted to add any other notes to this particular record, you can go ahead and add notes here. So again, this was a very brief overview of the platform itself. You can learn more in our guide, but now I want to transition into how to get content into Zotero, starting with that file from Academic Writer. Because again, we want to make sure that you don't lose any of the resources that you've been working with because you spend a lot of time and effort hunting those down, right? Those are valuable to you. So let's make sure that you get that content into another reference management software. So to do that, remember Shelley showed us how to save that file. So we're thinking, where is that file? We're going to locate that file. But the first thing that we need to do here in Zotero is go to the File drop-down menu. From there, we're going to click on Import. Okay, so we're going to leave it defaulted as a file. And then we're going to click Next. From there, that's when we'll be prompted to choose our file. So there I have a couple of files here. I'm going to choose this RIS file and click Open. Okay, so I honestly do not change these options because it's just going to place the imported collections and items into a new collection, and it's going to copy files to the Zotero storage folder. So let's go ahead and click Next, and then we are importing that, and then we need to click Finish because we have 90 items that were imported. So I'm going to click Finish, and then we should see all 90 of those items. I typically will look to this Date Added column just to verify that it did what it said it was going to do. And as I'm scrolling down, I'm seeing a lot of July 28th. So I'm pretty confident that that content was imported. When I'm ready, I can click on that item and then scroll down to look at all of the information and make any edits. Now, the one problem with getting that content from Academic Writer into Zotero is it's not going to come with the full text PDF, right? There is an RIS file that we are using. That's a standardized file used to transfer bibliographic or reference information between these citation management programs. So it's not pulling in that PDF. So if you need any help locating the PDF, if for some reason you don't have that stored on your own computer, always feel free to reach out to the library staff. We're happy to take a look and see if we can find maybe an elusive article that you're not able to find. But you can come here again and click File to upload that PDF once you have imported your collection here. So that, again, is how you are going to get your content from Academic Writer into Zotero. Again, that process was File, Import. Okay, then you're going to look for that file. Once you've done that, your main method of getting content into Zotero is the browser extension. Okay, so you're going to use that primarily as you're getting content here into Zotero. So we're no longer using this method. We're going to use our browser. So because of that, I'm going to return to the browser. And this is a way, remember, you're going to install this at the same time you install the software for Zotero. This is a way that you can capture sources directly from library databases, directly from Google Scholar, directly from publisher websites, directly from web pages or reports, all using that browser tool. And I had to move some zoom controls to show you where mine is up here in the upper right-hand corner. So you can see this here. The tricky thing about the Zotero browser connector is that it looks different based on what we are looking at. Right now we're looking at a website, so it looks like this sort of, I guess, piece of paper here, but you'll see that this changes depending on what type of source we are looking at. So we could start out using something like Google Scholar, but I am going to use the library's website in order to demonstrate how to use this browser tool. So let's just say that I am looking for other articles that talk about using Zotero. Maybe I'm doing a little more research on my own before I decide on this tool. So I'm doing a search in the library for Zotero in the title, and I'm going to press search. Once I see a document that I am interested in, I can open up that PDF, and then we'll use that browser tool in order to push that into Zotero. So let's see. Let's find one that looks interesting. This one looks pretty good. I might have pushed that one in already. Let's see, that one I might have pushed in already. Okay, so let's just say that we are going to, that one's not English language. How about this one? Zotero for personal image management. That's quite an older article. Maybe this one. Let's do this one. This is more current. So I'm going to open up this PDF article. We can do that using LibKey Instant PDF, or sometimes we have this open access PDF version. Sometimes there's multiple versions that you can click on, but I'll click on this one for now. Once we're looking at that content, watch that browser tool in the upper right. So it's still stayed at that because we're looking at a website now. Let me go to this PDF download and see if that changes. Yeah, that one's not going to work. We can go back to the previous page, though. Let's see. Let me try it this way. Okay, that one doesn't work either. That's okay. We'll choose a different one. I know there's a different one that I've used recently. Okay, let's go into this one. Okay, so now in this view, we're looking at a PDF article. We can see that that Zotero extension has changed to a PDF view because it knows that you're looking at a PDF view. In our previous version, it was not detecting that. In the previous option that we chose, there are always other options for getting content into Zotero, and a librarian can always help you with that. So don't worry if something like that happens. But what I'm going to do is just click on that so you can see that it spun and then quickly gave a little check mark like, hey, you're good to go. So I'm going to go into my Zotero and I can see that that content has been added. If I scroll down, I can see that that full text traveled in with that item. So that was very quick and simple. That's one of the real benefits of using Zotero. I find it a lot quicker than some of the other reference management software. So just like that, we were able to push that content that we were interested in into Zotero. So that is going to be the main way that you're going to get your content into Zotero. Remember that this is going to work for a variety of different types of sources across platforms. There are additional ways to get content into Zotero, which we're not going to demonstrate today for time's sake. But remember, you can go to our Zotero guide to learn more about that. There are ways that you can add a PDF manually where you can drag or drop or import that PDF. You can search for a DOI here in Zotero in order to add the content. You can manually add a source, which might be helpful if you find something more obscure, like a white paper, government documents, maybe something that you have in print just sitting on your desk. And all of these instructions are included in our guide as well as on Zotero support. Okay. So now that we've seen how to get the sources into Zotero, either from that RIS upload from Academic Writer or from using that Zotero browser plugin, let's move on to the other main attraction of Zotero, and that is citing those sources. So this is going to help us cite sources in our course assignments, our capstone projects, our dissertations, and there's a couple of ways to do that. So here's our new article, right, that we just pushed in. If we right click on that and we just quickly want to grab that citation, we can go to this drop down item that says create bibliography from item. Okay, that's going to default to the last citation style that you selected. So if you've never used it before, you're going to have to look for APA style 7th if that's the citation style you're using. But then it should default to that from there on out. Another choice we have to make is the output mode. The citations area means in-text citation, which typically is just the author's last name and year. So I feel like you won't be using this very often, whereas the bibliography option is for that full reference that you would use at the end of your paper. The other choice is the output method, and that defaults to copy to clipboard. At least it does for me because that's probably what I selected. And then I'm going to hit OK. So that has copied to that content. And then if I wanted to paste that, I'm just pasting it into this little notepad. But if you wanted to paste it into your document, you have that right there. Again, remember, this is not necessarily 100% correct according to APA style. So you may have to fix some of that formatting. So that is how you're going to just grab a reference or an in-text citation sort of on the fly. However, I think more frequently, you're going to be using the Word plugin for Microsoft Word in order to insert in-text citations and add references as you're writing your paper. So for that, I am actually going to pull up an example paper. And so you all should be viewing that right now, okay? We can see at the top of our screen, at least hopefully you can. I can't because of these Zoom controls, but I'm going to move stuff around a bit. Okay. At the top of our screen, at our ribbon, that is where you're going to see this Zotero option. Now, this is going to install automatically when you install the Zotero software. If you do not see this, it is recommended that you restart your machine. If you still don't see it, please feel free to contact the library for some troubleshooting support. Okay, when you do see that tab, you're able to click on that tab, and this is what we're going to use this tab in order to insert our in-text citations as well as our references at the end of our papers. Okay, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples here. So the first one I call sort of just a regular citation or a normal citation where we are using that author's last name and year, sort of like this one right here. Okay, so let me scroll down here and we'll use this paragraph as an example. Let's say this is the paragraph that I want to insert an in-text citation for. I'm going to put my cursor where I want that to be inserted, and then I'm going to go to Add Edit Citation. This is where we actually have to know which author we're dealing with, right? So we can actually look for that. Let me see. Let's say this is the author that I wanted to cite right here. It's going to select that. You can see that right there, but it hasn't pushed it in yet because I have to click on this check mark. Okay, so once I do that, it has inserted that author's last name and year. You know, just make sure your spacing before and after is correct. Okay, so that is typically how you're going to be using those in-text citations. But we know that there are different circumstances that might come up, right? Like in our second sentence where we see Morgan states that when students organize their research and connect sources, etc. So we're actually using the author's name in this sentence. Okay, when we're using the author's name, we don't want then Morgan 2019 at the end of the sentence. Instead, we just need the year here. And it might be tempting to just type that in parentheses, right? Because it's super simple. But if you're using this system to insert your in-text citations, you want to do that across the board. That way, everything syncs and is connected to your references at the end of your paper. If you just type this yourself, it's not going to add that at the end of your paper as well. Okay. So here we know we just need the year though. So instead, we're going to do the same process, but there's one more step. So we're going to go to Add Edit Citation. And we know that this is Morgan. So I'm going to look for Morgan. And I'm going to select Morgan. But before I press that check mark, I'm going to use this little drop-down arrow here. And I'm going to omit the author. Remember, we've already said the author in our narrative. We wrote the author's name. So now I'm going to hit done. And now I can hit my check mark. So now you can see that has just inserted the year. So again, it may be tempting just to type through and insert that year yourself or type that year yourself, but it's going to make sense once I show you how to insert your references. So one more example before we insert the references at the end of the paper, and that is if you use a direct quotation. So in much of our academic work at National University, we're discouraged from using a lot of quotations, right? But sometimes it may come up. So I want to show you how we can do that. So let's just say we want to cite this sentence that has a direct quotation in it, okay? I'm going to put my cursor there. Again, I'm going to go up to Add Edit Citation, and I'm going to search for that. Let's just say that this is my author here. What I now need to do is add the page number that this quote was from. Okay, so again, I'm going to choose that tiny little arrow. Could they make it any smaller, right? But I'm going to click on that. And then we're going to add the page number here. So let's say this was on page 20. Okay, I can hit done. And remember, it hasn't inserted it yet. It's just putting this up here. And now I will hit my check mark. Okay, so now remember, you might need to fix your spacing a little bit here, but I'll do that. And then I'll put a period here and another space, and I should be good to go. So that was a quick review of how to insert your in-text citations using that Zotero plugin in Word. Now let's quickly talk about how to insert the full references at the end of your paper. So what you're going to do is type the word references, and I'm going to actually delete this because I already had it in my paper. Let me do that. Okay, so you're going to type the word references. Remember, you can worry about formatting at any point in time, but if you want to push that to a new page, you can do that. And then you're going to come here to Add Edit Bibliography. Okay, so I think at this point, you're just going to hit OK. Is that right? Tammy, maybe you can tell me if I did something wrong. Okay.
It just takes a moment or two.
It takes a moment. Okay. I was worried like I didn't do something right, but there's a little bit of a lag time there. Okay. Thank you so much, Tammy. I appreciate it. So you can see that now any of the sources that I cited up above in my in-text citations are now included on my references page. So I may need to, this is in a different font, and that's just the nature of my own Word document, the default font, which you can always change. You can highlight everything and change that font, and then you're going to center your references and bold that. But again, that process that you're going to do not until the end is Add Edit Bibliography. And as you go, you may need to refresh your document from time to time to ensure that those new ones get added if you go back and make any edits. So there's two functions of the Zotero plugin that you're using, the Add Edit Citation for in-text citations and the Add Edit Bibliography to add those full references at the end of your paper. Remember, the Academic Success Center is there to support you with anything related to APA style. You can set up an appointment with an academic coach to go over some of the things that you might need to polish up on in terms of your APA style. But the library is there to support you, of course, with using this Zotero tool. One more thing to mention before we wrap up, there are some additional advanced tools within Zotero that you may want to utilize to help enhance your research. Things like tagging, annotating and highlighting PDFs, removing duplicates. I know I always have duplicates in my collections. And then, of course, we mentioned syncing across devices. You can also share references with your professors or other students, as well as there's lots of troubleshooting advice as well. So all of this can be found again within our Zotero guide. And I also recommend the Zotero support guide that they provide as well, which is just zotero.org/support. There's a lot of great information here and it is well organized. But please don't hesitate to reach out to the library for any support using Zotero. We can even help you with uploading those references from Academic Writer. So I'm going to turn it back over to Shelley just to wrap up for the day, and we will be here for questions for a bit.
Thank you, Amanda. So as Amanda mentioned, we're here to assist you with Zotero as well as APA style, utilizing the manual as well. So please don't be afraid to reach out to us. I did drop the link for the APA manual in the chat as well as for Zotero. But now we are opening the floor for questions. I know there were a few questions in the Q&A that we did answer. Any other questions that we may have overlooked?
And if you would, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll go ahead and give a call on you, okay? While people are thinking about their questions, Amanda and Shelley, thank you so much for all of this. This is a lot of information, but it's really, really good. And I know it's going to be helpful. A little overwhelming, but at least we get to watch this back. Yes, Deanna. Hi.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on. You muted again.
No, it was me. I'm sorry. I asked her to unmute unless you must have unmuted for her. No, she's muted again. I'm sorry. Hold on. All right. Look at the feature. I just asked you to unmute again.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, together we get it done. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, ladies. So ultimately, like given the event, I don't want to say I'm a bit old fashioned, but can we send it like a direct email? Like if I'm just stooped or something or having trouble with something, are we able? Is it an option to kind of reach out to you guys or Amanda?
Yes, definitely. The best way to get in touch with the library is our live chat in the bottom of our homepage. That way, anybody that's working can assist. We also do have an email address, which is refdesk@nu.edu. Is that right? refdesk@nu.edu. So those are the two things that anybody who's working can assist because I can answer a lot of Zotero questions, but my colleagues can answer even more because they're more experienced. Like Stephanie, she actually dropped into the chat one of the links for Zotero on demand appointments. So I didn't mention that, Stephanie, because I wasn't sure if those were back up and running yet. So I appreciate you adding that in. But looks like Stephanie is on that schedule for Zotero on demand appointments. This is a troubleshooting. So this is going to be not like you go there and she gives you an overview. We have overviews recorded. This is a troubleshooting session that you can go to and say, hey, look, I just can't figure out how to get my references from Academic Writer to Zotero, or I am having trouble downloading this, or I just really don't know how to do something. And then Stephanie or whoever is on that schedule for Zotero On Demand will be there to support you. But you don't have to do that. You can reach out to us in those other ways that I mentioned as well. You can email me. I'm abzet@nu.edu, but I just want to make sure that whoever's working is there to assist you.
You do have a question in the chat from Julian as well. It says, how do I remove references in Academic Writer and Zotero if I do not need them anymore?
So I can start with Academic Writer. I know it may be a little different in Zotero. With Academic Writer, let me share my screen again here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Bear with me. Hold on one second here. I have multiple screens, so I apologize. Let me close that so we can. Well, Amanda, if you want to go ahead and share while I get my screen together, I apologize.
No problem. No problem at all. So it's super simple in Zotero to get rid of something. What you're going to do is right click and move the item to the trash. What I don't know, honestly, is how long your items stay in the trash. So if one of my colleagues does know the answer to that question, that might be helpful.
I'm going to push that off to Tammy if she knows.
My Zoom just locked up.
No worries, Tammy.
Okay, sorry about that. So your items will stay indefinitely in your trash until you empty your trash. So I would like to flag that that's also often a culprit for me when I find I am almost out of storage space. I have an overloaded trash can.
That is good to know, but also a good safety feature in case you accidentally delete something that you do not want to delete. So you can go and find it in the trash, but then delete what you absolutely don't want.
That would be me. I would be the trash panda looking for my stuff.
We also have another question.
I think Shelley was going to finish with the Academic Writer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. So with Academic Writer, it's not as straightforward as Zotero. I will tell you that. So if I wanted to delete this particular reference, see how it says associated with 3 papers? I would have to go to those papers and remove that reference before I can delete it. It will not allow me to. So for example, this one I can delete because it's not associated with any paper. So if I click on that particular reference and hit delete, it'll ask me if I'm sure. And then once I click yes, that reference is gone. So that is one thing that you will have to be mindful about, is that if any reference is associated, you won't be able to directly delete it until you either delete the paper or remove it as a reference from the paper.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Dr. D. Did you want to give Jillian's next question?
Oh, no, I was okay with it. I was just, because I missed his first question. So the second question that he's asking, if that's a preference source or if he wants a book, right? A physical book.
Yeah. So like, is it only good for online sources or is it also good for physical books?
Physical books.
Oh, for Zotero? Yes, you can, if you are unable to push that book content using that Zotero connector, you can always add a manual entry for that book. Or you can look for can you search for the ISBN and do it that way, or is it only DOI? You can search for ISBN. Okay,
So
perfect.
along the top of Zotero, there's a magic wand, and you can paste in the ISBN number in that magic wand. Or oftentimes, I will just search for the physical book title on something like Amazon and find it on Amazon, and Zotero can retrieve citation information from platforms like.
Shanna has a question. Does Zotero have the paper associations the way the Academic Writer does?
Can you explain what you mean by that, Shayna?
Just a moment ago when you were in Academic Writer discussing the deletion, there was the paper association.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yep. There is no paper associations there, but what it would be associated would be with collections, right? So, Tammy, can you answer if you delete it from your My Library, does that delete it from the collections as well?
Absolutely. That's a great point. So in Zotero, you do have the option to create basically folders to organize your items. And when you move an item to a trash, it removes it from all the collections, the folders. There is an option when you right click, instead of moving to trash, you can instead choose to remove from collection if you want to keep it, but just not say in that collection. But just keep in mind, when you trash something, it's universal.
Thank you.
Universal, but stays in your trash.
Yeah. I see Veronica had a question about how to get references into Academic Writer, and Shelley, I see that you answered. But my question is, do we want anyone putting anything into Academic Writer right now?
Yes. So that's something I was going to say about that question is if you do add it there, it's only there until September 30th. So you would have to follow the steps that we just went through to make sure those references are downloaded and then uploaded to Zotero so you don't lose access to it. So while you can go in there and still use them, I wouldn't suggest you taking the time because it's not, there are a few steps you'll see in the video that you do have to take in order to add those references. It's more manual than anything. So that's one thing I wanted to make sure you were aware of, Veronica.
Jillian would like to know why we're losing access to Academic Writer.
That's a good question. So part of it is just to ensure that you have access to all of the work that you've created beyond graduation. So with the APA manual, you do have access to it beyond graduation. And then the manual is very user-friendly, very similar to Zotero, and it works well with Zotero as, I'm thinking of Academic Writer, but you can utilize Zotero in a very similar way that you would utilize Academic Writer. You can store your references. Amanda, just to make sure, you can store papers in there as well.
In Zotero, the papers are not stored, like the papers that you write are not stored in Zotero, that you're just using the plugin in Microsoft Word, and then you're storing that paper wherever it is you store your papers.
So it does still give you some the ability to utilize those references and plug them into your particular paper. So it gives you more ownership of your work. In all honesty, you get to learn APA style. You get to use the manual, and you have it now for free. So it does, us switching over has a little more, in our opinion, in my opinion at least, more benefit for you as a user.
If you don't mind if I jump in on this one, guys, too, I've been using Zotero for like 10 years now, and I've worked in 3 different institutions during that time and written and done papers. So it was nice. It was never associated with my school files or my school email. So I could just take that with me everywhere I went. So for those of you who are working on your dissertation, this becomes really important when you graduate because you're going to want to continue your research. You're going to want to continue pushing that stuff forward. And this is a way Zotero provides that for you, that way to have access. As Tammy says, you might want to repurpose parts of your dissertation.
Yeah, and Tammy has put into the chat the dissertation to publication toolkit. So if you are a doctoral student and you are completing a dissertation and then want to take a piece of that and publish a piece of that after the fact, there's a really great guide that Tammy has created.
All right. I think we're actually running out of time, you guys. This was wonderful. Thank you so much to both Shelley and Amanda. Thank you to everyone for your questions. We do have, I believe, a survey that we may be dropping into chat for you guys. We don't have it?
No, we do. It's after. As soon as we are done, once they leave, it prompts them into doing the survey. I do apologize.
If you wouldn't mind, we would love it. It's our first time having the survey, so we would love your feedback. Thank you so much to everyone for being here, and we hope you'll see you at the next Skill Up.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.